Happy Wrestlemania week, folks, and welcome back to WWE Network and Chill, where every single week I, Graham Giason Matthews, break down all the original programming I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking WWE Photo Shoot with the one and only Kofi Kingston. This episode aired after Raw last week, March 26, 2018. Essentially, the premise of the show, if you have yet to see it, is the superstars sitting down and recalling and reminiscing on certain photos from their career and other people they're associated with and whatnot. So another really enjoyable episode here with the one and only Kofi Kingston. 22 minutes in length, but the show, per usual, just flies by. The first photo we see is of Kofi Kingston with the Bootio that made up the giant cereal, the Bootio cereal, at WrestleMania 32, a part of the New Day's entrance. He talks about how it was around the time when they were looking for a new t-shirt, the New Day was. They had seen someone with a sign in the crowd that was like the New Day on a Wheaties box. And since they were looking for a new t-shirt, they kind of ran with that, with the box of Bootios. They came up with the name, and they used it for the WrestleMania entrance soon after. And everyone was on board with it, not only members of the New Day, but the officials and creative as well. And Kofi Kingston remarked how they're always on the same page. The New Day, Kofi Kingston, Big E, and Xavier Woods. It kind of speaks volumes to how strong their chemistry is as a unit. The next picture we see is of Kofi Kingston wearing a Jamaican Adidas jacket. I guess it was around the time that he debuted in early 2008, on the January 22nd, 2008 edition of ECW to be exact, that there was an Adidas Jamaican jacket out that said Kingston on the back. So we thought it was perfect. He wore that for his attire in the ring. So he wrestled that match against a gentleman named David Owen, I believe. That's what Kingston said his name was. He said watching it back, the match makes him cringe because a lot of things did not go according to plan. And he said it was not off to a great start. His career, that is. And it's a miracle that, he's still here with the company today. And, he got to where he was because that debut match was just not good. I've actually never seen it. I was not a fan at that point, so I've never gone back and watched it. But now seeing certain highlights of one move being botched and the finish being botched, it looked pretty awful. So I'm looking forward to going back at some point and reliving that, if only to see how bad of a debut Kingston's, how bad of an in-ring debut Kingston's first match was with the company. The next picture we see is of Chris Jericho getting beaten by Kofi Kingston for the Intercontinental Championship at the 2008 Night of Champions pay-per-view. Kingston said he was real fortunate to face someone so experienced so early in his career. And the Intercontinental Championship was always one of his favorite titles growing up. It was the Workhorse Championship. And it was also cool that Shawn Michaels got involved, since Shawn Michaels was one of, if not his favorite wrestler growing up. And he proved he can go toe-to-toe with someone of Chris Jericho's status on that night by beating him for the IC Championship. That was a cool moment. I did not watch that show at the time, but it was soon after I started watching wrestling. And I remember reading the results in real time and thinking, oh, that's pretty cool. Kingston accepted the open challenge. Holy shit, he actually beat Jericho for the belt. It's a pretty cool start to Kofi Kingston's Raw run back in '08. And now this is where things get interesting. We got a picture of Airboom, which was pretty cool to see. I mean, Evan Bourne was never on bad terms with the company, but Evan Bourne has been persona non grata in the company for several years now. So it was cool to see him brought up and not completely glossed over in Kofi Kingston's 10-year career with the company. But yeah, we get a picture of Airboom. Kingston said they were put together because they could do crazy athletic things, and their matches were always entertaining. And they had come up with a list of names to call themselves as a tag team. They got their name back from Creative. Creative wanted to call them Airboom, and they thought the name was stupid. It was literally combining the first part of Evan Bourne's nickname, Airborne, taking the air part, and then putting that with part of Kofi Kingston's branding, that being Boom. He was never Mr. Boom, is what Kingston said. He was never Mr. Boom. That was just kind of the name of his one of his signature moves, the Boom Drop. So he thought it was pretty dumb, but it grew on people in time. The next picture we see is of Killer Kowalski. And by the way, I always enjoyed Airboom, by the way. I loved Airboom back when they were a thing in late 2011, early 2012. I thought they were a great addition to a struggling tag team division in WWE at that point. Anyway, the next picture we see is, as I had said, of Killer Kowalski. Kofi Kingston did train at his school of pro wrestling when he first came into the business, when he first broke into the business. He said that Killer would always come in on the weekends and stretch out the students, always lend a lot of experience to them. Triple H trained there. Tommaso Ciampa trained there. I believe, he didn't mention it, but Damian Sandow also, I believe, trained there as well. And they were kind of like the last disciples of Killer Kowalski. I don't know if the school is still open, but obviously Killer is no longer alive. He had passed away a number of years ago, so it was pretty cool for Kofi to get that experience before the, as the last batch of students under the tutelage of Killer Kowalski. The next photo we see is of Kofi Kingston competing in the Wrestlemania 25 Money in the Bank ladder match. He called it incredible since it was his WrestleMania debut. It was a childhood dream come true for him to wrestle at WrestleMania. And not only that, but also to be in a ladder match after growing up watching, Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels almost 15 years earlier at WrestleMania 10. He said it was unreal. It was super cool to not only be in it, but also to be able to do memorable stuff. He got caught in midair by Mark Henry and got the world's strongest slam on the ladder, which was awesome. And he said he was able to check off the bucket list, check that item off the bucket list with that memory, that match at WrestleMania. And also, a little funny trivia note here. He said he wrestled that night in women's Nike dance boots. I guess his feet are so small that he fits in large women's shoes. That's what Kofi Kingston said, which is pretty funny. But he said he put hunting lights in the shoes, little green hunting lights, so they would glow up, so they would light up. But you couldn't see it because the entire event was lit up, and you couldn't really see the fact that they were lighting up. The only time you can see them was when Kane's entrance took place, and you could see the green in Kofi Kingston's boots. But that was about it. So a cool little trivia note there. The next picture we see is of Kofi Kingston with none other than CM Punk, the two former tag team partners and former world tag team champions together. He said CM Punk took him under his wing, that he was one of his best friends in the business. He was grateful for the time they could spend together. He learned so much from him. He said Punk always wanted to be better. He strived to be the best in the world, as his on-air persona kind of proclaimed himself to be. Said a lot of good times with Punk back in 08, 09, and from the years thereafter when Punk, later re-signed with the company in 2011, 2012. He said he was also thankful to have him as a tag team partner and also as a friend. He didn't mention if they still keep in touch. I wouldn't expect him to. I'm not sure if they do. I wouldn't assume they do, but it would be interesting to find that out. Kofi Kingston had ever remarked on that before. The next picture we see is of Kofi Kingston and the rest of the New Day dancing with the Legends at WrestleMania 32. It was right after the New Day lost to the League of Nations in a completely pointless match. And the fact that New Day lost was so fucking stupid, it led to nothing except the tag team title match the next night that the League of Nations lost anyway before breaking up. So it's like, what the hell was the point of that? Anyway, so Kingston said that his WrestleMania dream match forever had been him versus Shawn Michaels. He didn't technically ever really get that match, but he did get to share a WrestleMania ring with Michaels on this night and twerking with him, which he said was every bit as cool, if not a little bit cooler. We next see Kofi Kingston on the poster for Money in the Bank 2011. He said it was the first poster he was ever on by himself, which was pretty cool. It was shot in Atlanta. He was like, wow, people are buying tickets to come see a show with my face on the cover of the poster, which is pretty sweet. He said that this wasn't the same show. This was from Money in the Bank 2010. The poster was for 2011. The poster, I believe maybe it was 2010. I thought it was 2011. I think 2011 actually might have been Big Show and Hornswoggle, which is pretty fucking stupid. But anyway, he did compete in the Money in the Bank ladder match for SmackDown at the 2010 pay-per-view, the 2010 installment. And he did that awesome boom drop off the top of the ladder. He said it sucked for Drew McIntyre, which is pretty apparent, based off how high up Kofi Kingston was when he did that spot. He talks about next the New Day vignettes that kind of aired before their debut on Raw in late 2014. He said they tried so hard for so long to get on TV as a unit. Remember when they first teased it in the summer of 2014 as a heel faction, but then never really amounted to anything? So that's probably what he's alluding to. He said Xavier Woods was never really given a chance to get off the ground, while Big E felt he was floundering at that point. So they wanted to present something different and diversify their characters. This was it. The culmination of it all was these vignettes they put together. It wasn't exactly the idea they had. It was more so Vince's vision, but creative basically had these vignettes for him, gave them these characters, and said, show me what you got. We next see the Royal Rumble 2012 save in the 2012 Royal Rumble match with Kofi Kingston getting shoved off the apron by The Miz, only for Kingston to do a handstand, which was pretty awesome. Now he's done a Rumble save every year since. So I think he's now up to 7. He's got to be up to at least 7 saves, 2012, 2013. So he did this one, the 2013 one, he did the pogo stick, using the desk chair, the announcer's chair as a pogo stick to get back in the ring. 2014, he leaped from the barricade back to the ring. 2015, I think he got tossed from the ring and then landed on the Rosebuds and they carried him back in. 2016, he just hung out on Big E's shoulders on the outside of the ring. 2017, I think he landed on the ring post and then got back in. And then this year, he landed on the pancakes, which was hilarious. So anyway, Kingston talked about John Morrison's spot from the year prior, the Rumble 2011, and how Morrison had fallen on the barricade as well, and how he kind of like jumped back in, and it was pretty awesome. So we saw John Morrison's departure from the company by early 2012 as a void that he wanted to kind of fill. So he always wants to stand out with the spots, and needless to say, it gets harder and harder for him every single year. We next see him ruining Randy Orton's NASCAR from late 2009 in the beginning of that feud with Randy Orton, which kind of helped put Kingston on the map as a single star for a time that year. I guess he was told that the glass in the car was not supposed to break, but it did anyway when he smashed the glass. So then he dropped the paint on it, and he said it was a miracle he didn't fall, because it was a serious moment in his feud with Orton. So if he fell and he tripped and fell, because the paint was on the car. So he kind of like slipped on the paint and like caught himself. He said it was like the Matrix. That's what he called it. But had he fallen, he said it might have been Shockmaster-esque. And people would have remembered that forever, and not for the right reasons. So thankfully, he did not fall. He caught his fall, and the feud went on as planned. Also, from soon after that, we see Kofi Kingston saving Rowdy Roddy Piper from Randy Orton at MSG. So the crowd was booing him at first, and Orton was kind of getting over as a fan favorite at that point, so it's not too surprising. But they did turn in Kingston's favor by the end of that segment, after Kingston, of course, boom dropped Orton through the announcer's table in the MSG arena, which got a huge pop and one of the most memorable Raw moments in the past decade, in my opinion. We see him with Big E on a roller coaster at Universal Studios ahead of WrestleMania 33. He said it was a required appearance. And he said, I'm not having fun. We see the footage of him on the roller coaster. And he said he doesn't get too squeamish often, but he did, I think, on this one. But he said, I'm not having fun. I'm just working very, very hard. So it's pretty cool with the rigorous travel schedule these guys have, that they can kind of break loose for a while and have a fun appearance for a required appearance for once as part of a fucking roller coaster of all things. We see Kofi Kingston in his Brother Love costume from this past Halloween. He said he kind of recalled the New Day doing the Charles Wright tribute the year before for Halloween 2016. All the Godfather impersonations. So one of them was Papa Shango. One of them was the Godfather, obviously. And the other one was Kama, maybe? I believe the other one was Kama. So then for Halloween 2017, they did wrestling managers. I believe Big E was Akeem, Xavier Woods was Jimmy Hart, and then Kofi Kingston, of course, being Brother Love. And he wanted to paint his face red, but he couldn't really do it because his skin is so dark that after he put on a coat of red paint, it was no different from his current skin color. So he had to put on a few different layers, then makeup put on a few different layers, and then finally it stood out and it came out to a beautiful masterpiece, as he called it. And it was a pretty good costume, all things considered. We then see him with Baron Corbin in the first round of the Madden tournament on Up, Up, Down, Down. He said, Kingston, I guess he ended up beating him. He said, I turn into a different person when I start playing video games. I am sure he's far from the only one that's the case with, which is pretty funny. Kingston, though, it's much more apparent with. And he said he can't control how he reacts to certain things on screen, which is funny. It always makes for funny videos. I'm not subscribed to Up, Up, Down, Down, but it does make for some funny stuff on the shows when you watch it back. Kingston's great. He's great in general, but he's especially great on the show when he kind of kicks back and lets loose. Then the final picture we see is of the New Day entrance. You kind of see the confetti pants that they're wearing, the unicorn attire. And he said, this is the epitome of us. They just try to go out there and have fun, and it has been the wildest ride to get where they are today. So really, really cool stuff. I like this episode. I like the mentions of CM Punk and Evan Bourne, and wasn't really expecting that. We got to see some talk of his debut, the Orton feud, a lot of the New Day stuff, of course, the Rumble saves. So a lot of good stuff here. I really enjoyed this episode. Again, the 22 minutes that this episode lasted for, over in a blink of an eye. So definitely check it out on the WWE Network. WWE Photo Shoot, Kofi Kingston, ahead of WrestleMania this coming Sunday. It did air last week on the network, so it is the March 26th, 2018 edition. So be sure to check it out at your leisure. Next Monday, I have no idea what I will be reviewing here on the network or here on WWE Network and Chill, what we'll be airing on the network after the ever anticipated post WrestleMania Raw. And what's going to be airing tonight, I have no idea as of this recording. So if something does air, I will review it here for WWE Network and Chill next Monday. And if not, maybe we'll watch an old, WWE 24, WrestleMania 30 or 31 installment. I think I've watched 32 and 30. I know I've seen 31, the WWE 24 series, but I have yet to go back and review it. I think it was the 31 one that I have yet to review. So maybe we'll do that if there's nothing airing on the network after Raw tonight. So anyway, guys, have a great rest of your week. Enjoy WrestleMania week. It's finally fucking here. Enjoy WrestleMania this weekend as well. I'm Graham Giason Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.